events and issues shaping our community. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
We're in the heart of Tallahassee at the state capitol. I'm Spiro Canton. During Children's Week, we're talking about all kinds of different children's issues. And who better to talk to us about those things than Secretary George Sheldon from the Department of Children and Families. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for the invitation.
You've got one of the toughest jobs around, don't you?
Well, I don't know. I also think it's one of the best jobs around because I think there are few places, particularly in today's economy, where you can do more to help people than you can here. Whether that's food stamps or whether that's trying to deal with the crisis of domestic violence or child abuse. And there's some positive stories out there as well.
And we got to talk that the department must be light years from what it was 5 years ago. And one of the big success stories is foster care. That program has turned around significantly since the end of last year.
Well, it has. And frankly, when Governor Chris came into office, we made a commitment to explore adoption, to really try to move children to permanency as quickly as possible. We also received a waiver from the federal government, which allows us to use federal foster care dollars to provide services in the home. So in the last 3 years, since Governor Chris has come into office, we've had 12,000 adoptions. We've had 15,000 children who've gone into permanent guardianship. So there are 37% fewer children in out-of-home care today than there were 3 years ago. But in addition to that, one of the reasons is we also have reduced the length of time necessary when we do remove children to reunite them with their family, because we got services to the family, whether that's substance abuse services or parenting skills or what have you, and re-abuse is down. So there's some very positive things, but we still have a lot to do. There's no question in my mind. We've got to do more to help kids who age out. We've got to reduce the number of children who've been in foster care for a long time by moving them to permanency quicker. We've got to improve our placement stability for foster children. But as I was telling you, we just received a $9.8 million bonus for being the best in the country in adoption. That's pretty impressive.
That's amazing. That's from the federal government.
That's correct.
You take a look at Children's Week and all the festivities today. It was a blowout. Every year it seems to be bigger and bigger. What do you think the common theme was this year with all the child advocates coming into Tallahassee?
Well, I think it's the realization that if we don't deal with children's issues, everything we do on everybody else really is irrelevant. Because, and I think the governor put it best when he said that it's important to have children at the table because pretty soon it's going to be their table. I was last month at a town hall meeting during Children's Week with several children in the public school system. And I will tell you this, the questions they had were very intelligently phrased. They had a good grasp. Now, I'm on the children's cabinet, and quite frankly, I think any one of those children who were asking us questions could trade places with me because they've got an insight. You know, we designed a whole child welfare system in this country, and we never talked to kids. I mean, who has a greater interest in what happens in the child welfare system?
And let's also talk about last month being Child Abuse Month. And the fact that there's a lot of pluses and a lot of success stories that have come into that arena as well.
Well, there really have been, and part of that, the more I know about child abuse, the more convinced I am it's about mental health and substance abuse, almost without question. And if you look at the economic downturn, we've gone from 1.2 million people in '07 on food stamps to 2.6 million people on food stamps. And at the same time, we've seen a 37% increase in domestic violence. We've seen those increases in child abuse. So what's driving this, what you have is a 21-year-old, 22-year-old father loses his job, can't pay the rent, and you got a 2-month-old crying in the middle of the night. Wow. It's a recipe for disaster.
A lot of good success stories. Secretary George Sheldon, our guest this hour on Comcast Newsmakers from the state capitol. He's the Secretary of Department of Family Services. Thanks for joining us.